Hi, I'm Kimberly Cook. I'm the Education Coordinator at the Pontchartrain Conservancy, and I want to welcome you to this interactive video on hydrological modifications. You may be wondering what hydrological modifications are, and we can use the words to figure it out. Hydrological, hydro, means water, and modifications mean to change something. So we're talking about how humans create structures to change the way that water moves. And in fact, in this video, you're going to be challenged to move some water. But before we do that, we want you to take some time to discuss and think about structures that you can think of that actually move water that humans have created. So go ahead and pause here and take a few moments to discuss, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. Hopefully you had some time to discuss hydrological modifications that you thought about that are ways that humans are moving water or controlling the way that it moves. I have some here that I'm going to share with you, but I wanted you to know that we have accompanying materials that list a whole bunch of different kinds of hydrological modifications and tell you more about them. So let's take a look at the ones that I have. I'm going to step a little closer to the camera so you can take a good look at them. The first one I want to share with you are pump stations. And pump stations are designed to move water out of low-lying areas. And so if we have a flooding event, these pumps are literally going to pump that water to a safer area so that communities aren't impacted. The next hydrological modification I'm going to show you are levees. And levees are basically large walls made of earth and often concrete, and they are literally used to stop water that is associated with hurricane storm surge. And so they are not just moving the water, they're actually trying to stop it from getting into communities. The next one I'm going to show you are spillways. And these are used to actually control the release of water into an overflow area. And it's usually because of flooding. So for instance, it might run along the Mississippi River, and if the river gets to flooding stage, to release some of that flooding so it doesn't impact communities downstream, they'll let some of that water out into a nearby larger body of water, for instance, a lake. And finally, irrigation. So irrigation is used to redistribute water to farmland and agricultural areas, and it might be coming from a river or a nearby bayou, and it's allowing those areas to have water for their crops. And this is the hydrological modification that we are about to challenge you with. We're going to ask you to design your own irrigation project. So we are going to challenge you to what we're going to call the Red Bayou Irrigation Challenge. And here on the table you can see some supplies that we're suggesting you have available. If you don't, that's okay. You can follow along in the video with what we're doing. But if you want to do it, you can have things like this available. So take a look. We've got straws of different kinds. We've got popsicle sticks and tape. You're definitely going to need 3 small cups and 1 large cup. The 3 small cups are going to represent your 3 farms, and the 1 large cup is going to represent your bayou or your water source. Now, the challenge is basically that you're going to design and build an irrigation system that meets the following requirements, and this will also be on the card when we pause. So you're going to have to move equal amounts of water to your 3 farms. You're also going to use at least 3 materials. So it doesn't matter which ones, just to use at least 3 materials in your design. And then we need you to move your water from the primary source to the farms, and they need to be at least 10 inches apart. So here you can see in my design that I have my 3 little farms, and then I have this representing that each of them is 10 inches apart. They don't have to be here, they can be however you want to do it. But basically this water has to get over to my 3 farms that are at least 10 inches away, and it has to go in equal amounts, right? And you don't want water to be leaking as it gets there. So whatever your design is, try to think about, is it going to maintain the integrity of the water moving from the bayou to these farms in your irrigation project. So at this point, we're going to ask you to go ahead and take some time, about 15 minutes, to first do your design. So you draw it out, and then which materials are you going to use. I didn't draw them in mind because I want to let you use your imagination. But you can draw the different things that you're going to use in this. And then once that design is done, go ahead and build it. And then when you come back, I'll show you my design, and then we'll eventually test the designs to see if we actually are able to move our water to our farms. Welcome back. So you've had time to do your design and build it. And if you didn't, that's okay. You can help me with my design. And let's go ahead and check my design and see if I met some of the criteria. So first of all, I can see that I do have 3 farms and that I have a bayou. I have used at least 3 materials in my design. You can see that I have straws, I have tape, and I have a bucket. I also thought about where my design might leak or have issues, and I tried to reinforce those. And I have a ruler handy. We can see that in fact my farms are at least 10 inches away from the bayou, which is great. Now we can't know whether or not my farms are going to get equal amounts of water yet until we test it. So at this point I'm going to ask you to pause the video and discuss the strengths and weaknesses of my design or your own. And then after you come back, we'll actually test the designs to see how they hold up and whether our predictions were correct. I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. You've had some time to make some predictions, so now it's time to test my model. So I'm going to go ahead and add some water to my bayou, and we're going to move in close so you can see what happens. Here we go. All right, so how did my model do? Did it match your predictions? So I can see that I do not have almost any water in farm number 2. So that's a real problem because that was one of our things we wanted to do. However, I have equal amounts in farm 1 and farm 3. So that's really interesting. I didn't have any leakage here in these areas, but if we come up to the top, my bayou, the area where they connected, there's a lot of leakage. So I did have a couple of problems. At this point, I would probably revisit my design and try to make some corrections and do it again. So at this point, if you want to go ahead and test your models, you can pause the video here, make some predictions first, and think about what might be a problem area and what might be a strength, and then go ahead and test the model. When you're done, come back and we'll wrap up. All right, welcome back. So hopefully your test went well. I wanted to let you know that in fact, our Red Bayou Irrigation Challenge is based on a real-world project. And the name of that project is the Red Bayou Watershed Project in Caddo Parish, Louisiana. We have accompanying materials for you to find out more about this project. They actually had to move water from Red Bayou to irrigate local farms, and there was a lot of stuff involved in that project and in the preparation for it. Here you can see some photos from it. I'll come a little closer. And you can see that the structures that they're using, these pipelines, look very similar to some of the structures in my design. So find out more about that project on our website with the accompanying materials. If you want to try to challenge yourself, I recommend that you do a new design and this time give yourself a budget. So tell yourself you can only spend so much money and then assign values to each of the items. So restrict what you can use. Finally, we ask you to please fill out the survey that is embedded in our video. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again.